Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News, where Barcelona are renegotiating their contract with Nike. Also, the club are currently tracking Bayern Munich's winger Leroy Sane. And finally, the club will go all in for the signing of Gabriel Moscardo. It's October 4th. We have a lot of news. So let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Barca News' second live stream of the day. I did an earlier live stream today, which was a post-match live analysis. In case you missed it, make sure to check it out on the channel, where I discussed the match between Barcelona and FC Porto, where Barcelona squeezed by a razor-thin victory 0-1 with the goal of Ferran Torres. Now, as always, we'll do a segment of news and we'll head to the chat section to get a discussion going and answer any kind of questions. For those of you who will be watching when the live stream ends, I will add timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline so you can skip through the discussion if that's what you want to do. And of course, as always, make sure to hit that like button. It's very important. It really helps this channel grow when you hit the like button. It prompts YouTube to share this video with other people who haven't seen this the videos or the channel. And of course, make sure you subscribe. Now, if you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the kit bag. And if you are looking to place any sports bets on any matches or sporting events around the world, make sure you hit the Bet Us. They're currently having a special deal for all new signups. Both links for kit bag and Bet Us are down below in the description. Now, let's begin with the news. And I do want to mention one little brief news that I forgot to mention during the post-match live analysis, which is Lamine Yamal, who today became the youngest player in the history of the Champions League to start in a match at 16 years old and 83 days. Now, Xavi Hernandez has explained why Lamine Yamal was subbed off during the match between Barcelona and FC Porto, and it seems that Lamine Yamal was actually ill. He was complaining to Xavi the whole time that his stomach hurt, and during the break, he actually had to use the restroom. And afterwards, unfortunately, he could not continue, and that's why he was subbed off. So I wanted to mention that really quick because, again, I did forget to mention it in the post-match live analysis. But now let's begin with new news that's not related to the match between Barcelona and FC Porto. It's starting with the news that Barcelona are currently renegotiating their contract with Nike. Now, Nike has been making the Barcelona kits since 1998, and the last time Barcelona negotiated the deal with Nike was back in 2016 under the presidency of Josep Maria Bartomeu, where Barcelona signed a 12-year deal until 2028, and where Barcelona are currently receiving around 115 million euros per season, which could go up all the way to 155 million euros per season, depending on the variables. Now, Barcelona are reportedly renegotiating this deal with Nike. There's talks about extending the contract more and perhaps trying to get more money out of Nike, which has not been confirmed. But one detail that has been confirmed is that Barcelona have offered the naming rights of the Olympic Stadium Luis Companys to Nike. So Nike would have the opportunity to add their name to the stadium's name. So it would be something like Nike Olympic Stadium Luis Companys or Olympic Stadium Luis Companys Nike, kind of like the Spotify Camp Nou. And of course, Barcelona would earn a lot of money from these naming rights. But given that the Olympic Stadium is not Barcelona's property, they're only renting it for the season, this would have to be approved by the city of Barcelona. Now, this doesn't say that this deal it would be impossible because as of now, Barcelona does have two sponsorship deals with the companies Cupra, who make vehicles, and with the company Estrella, who make beers. And both companies have naming rights of sections of the stadium. So there's the Cupra section in the stadium. There's the Estrella section in the stadium. So this is not an impossible deal. Barcelona have already approved these kind of deals with the city before, so there is the possibility that they could get this deal approved by the city of Barcelona to allow Nike the naming rights of the Olympic Stadium, Luis Companys. Now, it's reported that Nike are in favor of this deal. They think this is an attractive deal, so there is the chance that this could go through. And of course, this is one of the many ways that Joan Laporta and his board of directors are looking to increase the revenues of the club. Because, of course, in order to get out of the debt that we're currently in and the financial hole that we're currently in, not only do we need to cut expenditures, but we also need to raise revenue. And this will be one great way to do it with the long-term member, Nike. Now, let's start with the comments section and do some comments, some questions. I will limit the number of comments today only because there's a lot of news to cover. If there's extra time at the end, of course, we'll do more comments. But let's go to the chat section, and then we will talk about Deco and his new policy of not signing players over 30. All right, we'll see. Chuchu is on this live stream as well. What's up, Chuchu? Thank you for joining 2 live streams in a row. He says Mark Bernal would develop to be better than Cardozo. Interesting observation as always, Chuchu. Thank you for your comment. And let's see, Luis Lua says, I will be in heaven if we sign Sané. He's so talented and would fit into our team. As always, it's only worth if we prioritize the finances of the club above signing star players. So I won't just say anything because that is coming up in this video. So I won't do any spoilers. So I won't discuss anything, but I'll give you all the details of why Barcelona are tracking Leroy Sane and whether there is a possibility of signing the German winger. Now let's talk about, let's see what Tefan says, who says, what we need the most are Pedri and FDJ back to play with Gundogan in the midfield. After that, we can talk. Yes, definitely, we are missing Pedri and Gundogan. So hopefully they will recover quick and we can see them back on the field. Now let's talk about the next bit of news because Deco. Actually, before I talk about Deco, let me mention something really quick. Because I just talked about the deal between Barcelona and Nike. And today I came across a very interesting article where Jaume Raures, I think that's how you say his name, kind of revealed that Real Madrid had actually activated an economic lever. If you don't know who Jaume Raures is, he is the owner of Orpheus Media, who Barcelona sold Barca studio rights to them. And it seems that Jaume Raure, as the owner of Orpheus Media, had done a similar deal with Florentino Perez back in the year 2000, where Real Madrid activated an economic lever, selling some of their rights to Orpheus Media in exchange for 6 billion pesetas. If you don't know what pesetas are, that was the currency in Spain before the euro was adopted. So if you do the conversion, that's about 36 million euros in today's money. So Real Madrid did activate an economic lever back in 2000, selling some of their property, if you may, for 36 million euros to Jaume Raure and Orpheus Media. And of course, they have activated economic lever much more recently, where they sold some of the future rights of their stadium, the Santiago Bernabeu, to Sixth Street for 360 million euros. Now, why do I bring this up? Of course, it's the Barcelona news channel. We don't really care what Real Madrid does, but I bring this up because ever since Barcelona activated the economic levers last summer, that's all the Spanish media have been talking about. Oh, Barcelona, what a joke of a club. They're broke. They're selling their assets, activating economic levers. What a joke of a club. But yet, when Real Madrid did it in 2000, because they were in a very terrible financial situation, nobody said anything. And of course, more recently, I think it was 2 years ago or last year, when Real Madrid sold the rights, some of the rights of their stadium in order to renovate it to 6th Street, there was also no talks about it, which goes to show the total hypocrisy of the Spanish media. But I only wanted to touch on that really quick just because we were talking about money and Barcelona renegotiating the Nike deal. But let's talk about Deco, because Deco has implemented a new rule in Barcelona where Barcelona are prohibited from signing any players above 30 years old. Now, Deco wants to implement this rule because under the previous presidency, Josep Maria Bartomeu, this was a chronic problem where the club continued not only to sign old players, but continued to renew the contract of old players. And as a result, that's why we saw the total destruction, if you may, of the squad, where we had an Asian squad. Most of the players were above 30 years old. And of course, that hurt Barcelona. We went one season completely trophyless. We saw all the debacles that we had in the Champions League. And Deco doesn't want to see a repeat of that. And he has implemented a new rule preventing Barcelona from signing any players above 30 years old. Now, of course, this is a lot easier said than done because at the end of the day, Barcelona have financial difficulties. They don't have the money to sign players, and usually players who are younger than 30, when they're in their prime, cost a lot of money. So Barcelona don't have the money to spend on, and they don't have the space on their wage limit, on their wage bill to register those players. So you might ask, well, how is Barcelona gonna look to sign players younger than 30? And well, the way Deco wants to do this is that he has directed the entire scouting department of Barcelona to start identifying young talent. So we're talking about really young players who still haven't blown up, players who have a lot of potential, who most of the world still haven't heard about them, kind of like Mikkel Faye when we signed him. Nobody knew who Mikkel Faye is. And now he's looking like very promising, like he could become one of the best center backs in Europe. So Deco wants the scouting department to identify young talent that Barcelona could sign for very little. In that way, the club would be accomplishing not only their goal of signing players who are under 30, but also they will be doing it by saving money because these players usually do not cost a lot. And more importantly, if these players don't work out because they are young, you could easily resell them and recoup your money and even make profit. Where you can't do that with players past their prime, because once you reach your prime, your value starts to go down. So if you sign someone above their prime, you're already losing money. It's kind of like buying a car. As soon as you drive off the lot, that car starts losing money. Same thing with a player past their prime. It's a depreciating asset. So if he doesn't work out, you already lost money because you're not going to be able to sell him for the same price you bought him. And you're definitely not going to be able to sell him for more. So Deco really wants to emphasize not signing any players above 30. He believes that the amount of 30-year-olds and older players has that we have enough of those players now on the squad. And he only wants signing new young players unless, of course, it's a really, really good deal that you cannot pass up, kind of like Ilkay Gundogan and like Robert Lewandowski. But overall, the club will not be looking to sign anyone above 30. Will only focus on young talent. Now, let's get back to the chat section, and then we will talk about Barcelona and their interest in Bayern Munich winger Leroy Sane. Klaus, he says, hi, Mo. What's up, Klaus? I haven't seen you in a while in the chat section. So thank you for joining. And we have our first donation from Perez Brandon, who says, hey, man, it's been a while since I caught a stream. Thank you, Perez, for your donation, and thank you for joining the live stream. I'm glad you're back, and thank you for your comment. And Klaus again says, I think Cupra is actually based in Barcelona. I think so too. I know they do manufacture cars. They have an agreement with Barcelona, and whenever they sign a player, they give them a free Cupra. Which I always thought funny when all these famous people, they always get like all these free stuff, but they don't need it. They're so rich. If they want to give cars away, I can send them my address. All right, Messi's the Go says, yo, just joined stream. Question, is it true that Barca are going for Xavi Simons? No, that's not true. Ever since Xavi Simons left, he's been linked with Barcelona a million times. And no, that's a closed chapter. It's done. Barcelona, he left for more money. So that was on him. And Barcelona are not interested in bringing him back. Okay, now let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about the bombshell news that Barcelona are currently tracking the 27-year-old Bayern Munich's winger, Leroy Sane, who in my opinion is one of the best wingers in the world. And I have no doubt that he will be a great incorporation into Barcelona. But first, let's talk about what's going on with him at Bayern Munich, which I just learned that it's actually pronounced Bayern München. So, anyways, Leroy Sané's contract is set to expire in the summer of 2025 with Bayern München. And as of now, he is not renewing. Now, Bayern have already began negotiations and talks with the player. They want to extend his contract. Of course, he's a fundamental player for them. But for now, he is hesitant about extending his contract. And instead, he is open to listening to offers from other teams. We don't know why. We don't know if he's only doing that as a tactic, kind of to push Bayern to offer him more money, or if he really is looking for a new challenge and looking to leave the Bundesliga club. Now, given that Leroy Sané is not renewing for now, Barcelona are keeping an eye on the situation. They have already began communicating with his entourage. They want to know what's going on. They want to know whether he's going to renew or not. And if he doesn't renew, then Barcelona will throw their hat in the ring for Leroy Sané. But this, again, will only happen if he does not renew and if he comes to Barcelona as a free agent. Because we all know how Bayern are as far as selling players. If they're going to want to sell them, they're going to want a lot of money. And, of course, Barcelona are now looking to spend. They can't spend. And even if they could, the days of blowing huge amounts of money of players is over. So they're only going to try to sign Leroy Sané if he does not renew with Bayern and if he agrees to come as a free agent. Now, the good thing is that Barcelona have a really good relation with his agent, who's the same agent as Marcos Alonso. So that's, of course, a plus in favor of Barcelona. We are going to have to wait and see whether Leroy Sané is listening to offers because he's just doing it as a tactic to increase his offer from Bayern, or if he really is interested in leaving the Bundesliga club. All right, let's get back to the news, and then we'll talk about, I'm sorry, not the news, the chat section, and then we'll talk about Gabriel Moscardo. That was my my drums. Okay, let's see. Messi is the GOAT. Yes, he is. Says, same with Florian Wirtz. I heard we might be looking on this, but then again, the internet lies. Now, so I covered this in a previous video. I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. The Florian Wirtz rumors are absolutely false. Barcelona are very interested in him. Deco is a huge fan of Florian Wirtz. He would love to sign him. The player would love to come to Barcelona. He said it a million times. And if Barcelona had the chance to sign him, they would completely jump on it. But Bayer Leverkusen have quoted him 100 million plus. So is the interest real by Barcelona's side? Absolutely. Is it going to happen? No. There is no money to spend 100 million on a player. And like I said, even if there is, the days of blowing 100, 150 million euros on players is over. We all saw what happened under Bartomeu by spending those crazy amounts on players. That's why we're in the financial hole that we are in. All right, and Brad says, call me sadistic, but isn't it so satisfying to deal with this total scam called La Liga and continue to win titles despite all the Real Madrid bias? 100%. That's why when Barcelona won last season, La Liga title, not only was I happy because obviously Barcelona won, but I was so happy because despite all the pressure that Real Madrid puts on referees, despite all the media campaigns against Barcelona, despite the whole Negreira case, despite the club being on a verge of bankruptcy, despite all these obstacles, all these hurdles, we won La Liga title, which obviously has not sat well with Real Madrid because the campaigns, media campaigns have increased. But that's been the history all through Barcelona. We've always had to face these obstacles and we've always been victorious. This is one of the main reasons why I'm such a huge fan of the club, because nobody does it like Barcelona does with so much against you, and yet they still do what they do, which is win, win, win. All right, one last one, and then we'll talk about Moscardo. Isaac says, if he isn't coming for free, then I think we should spend that money on young players. Well, there's no money to spend. and we're only looking to sign Leroy Sane for free. So there's no money to spend. But yes, the goal is to focus on young talent. Okay, let's talk about Gabriel Moscardo. I mentioned this a few videos ago. Can't remember what day. But Barcelona have already began communicating with the player's entourage and with Corinthians because they want to sign him. Now, Moscardo, in case you didn't watch the previous videos, he's an 18-year-old pivot who currently plays in Brazil for Corinthians. He's kind of this wonder kid that has blown up, and everybody's interested in him. And he was heavily linked to Chelsea, but Chelsea have reached an impasse where they've made 2 offers to Corinthians. Both have been rejected. And once those offers rejected, then Barcelona thought, hey, we still have a chance. And they have began communication with Corinthians in order to try to sign Gabriel Moscardo, who Deco wants him on the team so he can be the future pivot of Barcelona. Now, the goal is to sign him in the winter, but if we can't, then in the summer of 2024. But the new news is that Barcelona have decided that they will go all in on Gabriel Moscardo. This is not just one of the options that Barcelona are considering. This is not a player that they're just tracking and maybe we sign him, maybe we not. No, the decision has been made. Barcelona want him, and they're going to do everything in their power to sign him. Now, Barcelona have already started to work on this deal because they want to wrap up the deal before the transfer market opens, whether it's the winter or the summer. Barcelona want to have everything in place, agreement with the player, agreement with the club, everything in place. That way, as soon as the market opens, boom, put pen to paper, seal that contract, and bring the player over, because Barcelona are aware that everyone in Europe are interested in this youngster, and they don't want to get into some bidding war with other clubs because there is no money, and Barcelona are not interested in any bidding wars. So instead, they want to seal the deal and bring him. But the news is that Barcelona will go all in for the young player because Barcelona want him as the future pivot for the club. All right, let's get back to the chat section, and then we will talk about a guy that I had forgot even existed. Kevin Prince Boateng, and the statements that he made, how ridiculous he is. Okay, let's see. Brad says Dembele doing nothing at PSG is just karma. He has 0 goals. Does he even have an assist? Last I saw, he didn't. Yeah, he's doing terrible, and the whole French media are really, really upset at him because they spent 50 million euros on him with the whole promise that, you know, he'd be the next best thing, and he's not doing anything. He's losing so many balls. He hasn't scored goals. He hasn't provided assists. And I agree, it is karma, just like when Neymar did it to us, and then he also flopped. So I don't feel bad at all. Also, screw PSG. Isaac says, I couldn't watch the match today. I want to know, how did Nico performance? Nico didn't do anything. But I was a surprise. You know, I always maintained the position that Nico was completely overhyped and overblown. But people kept insisting, no, Nico's great, Nico's great. And then I was like, he didn't even do anything at Valencia. And, you know, that's why Barcelona got rid of him. And he's not doing much at Porto. He hasn't been starting. So, you know, I don't know what the hype was over Nico, to be honest. I never understood it. And Isaac again says, me. Oh, I think that's, I don't think my streaming software picks up the emojis because I'm pretty sure Me Too Face Blue smiling. It's an emoji. Okay, never mind. Isaac was talking to Deca, says Dembele was graciously wasteful. And another emoji. All right, Lincoln, what's up, my man? You made it. I haven't seen you in a while in the chat section, so it's good to have you back. Thank you for joining. But all right, let's talk about this guy, Kevin Prince Boateng, who played for Barcelona very briefly, and where he made some interesting statements where he said that when he signed for Barcelona, he had to say that Lionel Messi was better than Cristiano Ronaldo, and that he didn't really believe that he truly believes that Ronaldo is better, but he had to lie and say that Messi is better than Ronaldo because he was told that if he didn't say that, he wouldn't get to play for Barcelona. Then he added the cherry on top, saying that he absolutely loves Ronaldo and that he's always been a fan of Real Madrid ever since he was a little kid, and that Real Madrid has always been his team. Now, first of all, I had completely forgot that this guy had played for Barcelona. That was one of those signing. That was a failed signing that at the time made absolutely no sense when it was made. The only person who knew why the hell Barcelona signed this was Bartomeu. It was one of those signings that made absolutely no sense, kind of like the signing of Braithwaite. So I'd completely forgotten about the signing because Boateng, at best, he was a mediocre player who did not have the Barca level. And that became immediately apparent when the club signed him. And that is why he only lasted half a season at Barcelona, because, again, a mediocre player that never should have been signed by Barcelona because he never had the Barca level. So I don't really care doesn't really make much difference what his statements were, because I didn't even remember he had signed for Barcelona. And I think most Barcelona fans don't even remember who he is or care about what he has to say. But I thought it was interesting because, and this is the point I'm trying to make, is that I think when Boateng made these statements, I don't think he realized the implication of his words, because I think when he made his statements, he thought people would applaud him and say, oh my God, Boateng, he's so courageous. He's exposing Barcelona, showing us how they forced him to say Messi was better. What a courageous guy. But in making those words, I don't think he realized the implications of them, because first of all, he's saying that he truly believes Ronaldo's better than Messi and that he had to lie and say Messi's better because otherwise he didn't get to play for Barcelona. Now, in saying that, you're already telling me that you are willing to sell your values and your beliefs in exchange for a paycheck. So that right there, your own statements are not making you look good. But to make it even worse, he goes on and says that Real Madrid has always been his team. So not only is he selling his values and his beliefs to play for a club, but he's doing it to play for the arch rival of his supposed boyhood club. So no, there's nothing courageous or impressive about his statements. All he's telling me is that he's willing, that he has no principles, and that he's willing to sell his beliefs and values, and he's willing to say and do anything for the sake of a paycheck, which I thought was interesting, because not only is he a man with no principle, but that tells me that you're dumb, that you can't even think about what your words actually mean. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say about Kevin Prince Boateng. May he enjoy his retirement. And let's get back to the chat section. All right. Let's see. Klaus says, Barca told him to tell the truth. Exactly. I don't think Barca even told him. I don't think Barca cares. Some guy who signed for 6 months believes Messi or Ronaldo is the best, but I don't know. Anyways, King says, Kevin Prince Boateng, this man is just so interesting. Explain the logic. If he had to say Messi is better, so he'd play, how come he said it and still barely play? That's another great point. Like I said, I don't think he thought through his words. I think he made these statements thinking he would get applauses, but I don't really think he actually thought what he was saying, and that with his own words, he was actually insulting himself, because all you're telling me is that you have no principles and you're willing to say and do anything in exchange for a check. Isaac says, Mo, as fellow Ghanaian to Kevin Prince Boateng, can gladly confirm that we as a nation have forgotten his Ghanaian. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. Ghana has produced some amazing players, and Kevin Prince Boateng is definitely not one of them. And Brad says, Boateng saying that makes him sound like a Real Madrid player. Yeah, I mean, when he said that, it actually was kind of a relief. I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, if that's the kind of logic you have, I prefer that you be a fan of Real Madrid than a fan of Barcelona. That's not kind of, that kind of fans that we want. But anyways, that is all the news for today. Thank you for joining the live stream, especially for you guys who joined the earlier live stream as well. Thank you for all your comments and your likes. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Hopefully more good news.
And as always, Visca Barça.